Hello and welcome to the York Oratory for Talking Heads. I'm filming this on Holy Saturday here in the York Oratory Church of St Wilfrid, which is why you can see that the tabernacle is empty. The altar is stripped bare. We're in that time of waiting, that time when our Lord lay in the tomb and we wait for him to burst out on Easter Sunday. All around me, Brother Henry, who is the Father Sacristan, and other people are doing the real work of cleaning the church and making a fantastic job of making it ready for Easter, some of which I know that you'll be able to see on our live stream, and others of which for this year we have to do just for the glory of God. But I decided to record this edition of Talking Heads in order to give something during this time of lockdown, during this time of isolation. Let me explain what it's all about. Some of you will have been coming to the talks here in the upper room on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and others of you may not know what these talks are going to be about whatsoever. Last year, I was asked to start a little kind of Bible study group in the parish, and thinking about it, I started to look at the heads which you can see around the sanctuary here, around the altar at St Wilfrid's. They're all heads from the Old Testament, from the book of Genesis specifically. You have Adam, our first ancestor there, with his apple having taken from the tree and so brought original sin into the world. You have his son Abel, the just man who's mentioned in the Roman canon of the Mass because he was slain by his brother Cain, and so Abel is a figure of Christ. After him you have Noah, another just man who again was rescued by God, and so is a figure of justice, a figure who stands for the Christian within the church, the ark which saved him. And then after Noah, you have, somewhat hidden from view behind me, Abraham, the first one who was called Lech Leche, follow me, follow before me, walk before me, said the Lord. And Abraham set off in faith. He set off from a place called Ur of the Chaldees. A little trick I always use when teaching children is to ask them, where did Abraham come from? And they say, Ur, and that, of course, is the right answer. In the middle, not visible at all from the body of the church, behind the reredos, behind the tabernacle, is an angel, the angel that I understand to be the one who appeared to Abraham and stopped him from sacrificing his son Isaac, who is the next head. Isaac, who again is a figure of Christ, offered on Mount Moriah, the very spot where the temple would later be. And Isaac is a consecrated person who never leaves the promised land. After him, we see Melchizedek, the priest and king of Salem, priest of God Most High, the mysterious figure who, after the battle of the 9 kings, comes out to bless Abraham. And we read in the letter to the Hebrews that Christ himself is a priest not after the order of Aaron, but a priest of Melchizedek. Melchizedek is a priest who stands for Christ, the one great high priest who enters into the sanctuary and takes us with him. Then, after Melchizedek, comes Jacob, the son of Isaac, the cunning trickster, the one who tricks his brother Esau out of his birthright, and who becomes Israel, the one who has strived with God, the one who, as our Lord's ancestor, is again a type of him, who wrestles with God, who sees the ladder going up to heaven, and who is the father of the 12 tribes. And so the last figure we have is Joseph. Joseph, who is sold by his brothers into slavery. Again, we think of Jesus being betrayed by his own disciple, and who rescues them nevertheless from death, from famine, from starvation, and who establishes a house. Those figures I talked about before Christmas, and people seem to like it, so we carried on after the book of Genesis by looking at Exodus, and then Leviticus, and then on to Numbers. And we got almost to the end of the series before this terrible pandemic came and made us stop. One of the things, of course, I don't have at the moment is audience feedback. Normally it's wonderful to be able actually to have questions and comments and reaction. And even my heckler is not here. You know who you are, sister. If you do want to respond afterwards, please feel free to drop me an email, daniel@yorkoratory.com. That's right, isn't it, cameraman? Yes. We can always correspond in that way. Two things just to say before we carry on further, for those who've not watched before. I'm not a scriptural expert. I made vain attempts to learn Hebrew, or rather, people made vain attempts to teach it to me. I simply am somebody like all of us who comes to the scriptures in order to encounter Christ. And so all of us, in reading the Bible, can come to know and love the Lord. And the other thing to say is that my cameraman, because the BBC and CNN unaccountably proved unavailable because of social distancing, we've had to scrape the bottom of the barrel, and so Brother David is doing this for the very first time. And so if I'm, I don't know, upside down or jumping about the screen or talking rubbish, that's probably also the responsibility of the camera, and filtering it all in the wrong way. And so you'll have to forgive anything which is not professional about this film.